Technology is supposed to make life better, right? We love the ease of modern conveniences. But have you noticed that some improvements actually feel like a step backward? Newer isn't always better. Today, we're counting down glitchy gadgets and everyday products that ain't what they used to be. I'm Mike with List 25, and here are 25 modern upgrades that actually made things worse. 25. Touchscreens are making cars worse. Remember when turning up the car radio was as easy as twisting a knob without taking your eyes off the road? Good times. Modern cars have ditched those for sleek touchscreens, which are making driving more dangerous and so frustrating. Imagine flying down the highway and trying to tap a flat glass screen to change the temperature or find your favorite song. The biggest issue is distraction. Unlike good old physical dials you can operate by feel, touchscreens demand your full attention. You have to look to find the controls you want, which means you're not looking at what's ahead. Studies have shown that fiddling with infotainment screens can be as bad as texting while driving. It's a bit ironic, really. Our cars are getting more advanced, but now they feel less safe. 24. Websites. The good old days of the internet. Early websites were simple. Mostly text, a few images, maybe an under construction GIF if the webmaster was feeling fancy. In the 90s, a typical web page was lean and mean. No bloated scripts, no auto-playing videos, and definitely no pop-up ads yelling at you to subscribe now! The focus was on content and usability. You clicked a link, your page appeared, eventually, and aside from maybe a dancing baby or a glittery guest book, it was a pretty straightforward experience. Fast forward to today, and modern sites are absolutely packed with extra code, trackers, and high-resolution everything. Many web pages are now megabytes in size. In fact, the average web page today is larger in file size than the entire original Doom. All those extra bytes mean one thing: slower load times, especially if your internet isn't lightning fast or you're on mobile. Remember when a web page appearing in 5 seconds was normal? Now, if something takes longer than 2 seconds, we're tapping our fingers like it's an eternity. 23. Keyless ignition. Modern cars now often come with push-button start. It sounds convenient. Keep the fob in your pocket, press a button, and boom! No more fumbling with keys. What could go wrong? Well, as it turns out, quite a bit. One big issue is safety. With the old key system, you pretty much had to turn off the car and take your key with you when you left. Hard to forget when the key is literally in your hand. But with keyless ignition, it's surprisingly easy to park and walk away while the engine's still running quietly. There have been scary reports of people accidentally leaving their cars running in garages, leading to carbon monoxide buildup. That's a nightmare scenario straight out of a Final Destination movie. Keyless systems are electronic and complex, which means more things that can break or go wrong. Replacing a traditional car key? It's a few bucks at a hardware store, or maybe $100 if it's one of those with a chip. But replacing a lost keyless fob? Well, let's just say that you could buy a nice dinner, or 10, with that money instead. 22. Smart TVs. Remember when a TV was just a screen that showed you whatever you told it to, and that was it? Nowadays, TVs have gotten smart. And I use that term loosely because in many ways smart TVs are making the experience way worse. Sure, it is neat that your TV can connect to the internet and stream cat videos all on its own, but all that extra functionality comes with some seriously annoying trade-offs. First off, ads. So many ads. You might have paid top dollar for that 4K Ultra HD behemoth in your living room, but the manufacturer might still slap banner ads on your home screen or sneak in sponsored content suggestions. It's like buying a luxury car and finding out the dealer installed a billboard on the dash. Even worse, many smart TVs are basically spying on your viewing habits. Yep, Big Brother isn't just inside your computer or phone, he's on your TV too, taking notes on whether you binge true crime documentaries at 2 a.m. And can we talk about how every smart TV brand seems to think we want their proprietary operating system or app store? Navigating some of these interfaces feel like solving a puzzle without a guide. With dumb TVs, you decide what to plug into it. With smart TVs, they decide for you, and often not in your favor. 21. Printers. Printers. The bane of office workers and students' existence. Is there any piece of technology more universally despised? If there's one thing that's clearly gotten worse over the years, it's the humble printer. Not necessarily in quality, but in almost every other aspect. First off, let's talk about ink. Printer ink is often cited as one of the most expensive liquids on the planet. We're talking more expensive than fine champagne or even human blood by volume. Buying a full set of new ink cartridges sometimes feels like you're financing a small country's GDP. And heaven forbid you try to save money with off-brand cartridges or refills. Many modern printers will straight up refuse to use them. Then there's the constant errors and upkeep. Printers have a special talent for breaking down or throwing tantrums exactly when you desperately need that one document printed 5 minutes before a deadline. Paper jams, mysterious blinking lights, Wi-Fi connection failures, driver issues, you name it. Modern printers prioritize corporate profit over user experience. If you've ever yelled at your printer or considered throwing it out the window, you're definitely not alone. 20. Voice assistants. Hey Alexa, I mean Siri, Gemini, play my favorite song.
Sure, ordering 5 tons of soy.
We've all been there. Voice assistants and their digital pals were supposed to be the helpful, futuristic AIs we dreamed of, like Star Trek's computer or Jarvis. In reality, they often behave more like well-intentioned but clueless genies, occasionally helpful, but just as likely to misunderstand your wish in a hilariously wrong way. They'll mishear your commands, set a timer for 50 minutes when you said 15, or light up out of nowhere because they thought they heard the wake word. It's equal parts impressive and infuriating. You might say, Alexa, turn off the lights. And Alexa responds,
Playing the Lights by Elvis Presley on Amazon Music.
Yeah, not exactly what I had in mind, pal. Or worse, they totally disregard essential commands.
Open the pod bay doors, Hal.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Beyond the comedy of errors when they misinterpret you, there's also a darker side. Privacy. In order to respond when you call, they're basically always listening. There have been incidents where snippets of conversations were recorded and sent to random contacts or heard by Amazon/Google employees during analysis. These companies say it's to improve the service, but the idea of some stranger potentially listening to your awkward singing or private kitchen conversation is not great. Plus, these assistants vacuum up data about your requests, what you ask, when you ask it, maybe even the tone of your voice. That data can be used to build a profile on you, which is gold for advertising. Suddenly, your voice assistant feels less like a helpful butler and more like a nosy spy taking notes on everything you say. 19. Digital cameras. Remember the days when owning a digital camera was a big deal? You'd carry it on vacations or to parties to capture all your memories, and maybe upload a blurry album to MySpace or Facebook later. They were revolutionary, freeing us from film. But somewhere along the line, they've become too complicated, and frankly, kind of unnecessary for many people. Modern standalone cameras, especially DSLRs or mirrorless models, are tech marvels, no doubt. But have you seen the menus on these things? There are settings for things you didn't even know existed, and dozens of options nestled under acronyms that only photography geeks recognize. Now, if you are a photography nerd, that level of control is awesome. But for the average person who just wants decent photos of their dog playing in the yard or their friends at a bar, it's overwhelming. Back in the early 2000s, a basic digital camera had like 5 buttons you could figure out in minutes. Today, you might need a 200-page manual and a few YouTube tutorials to fully get the hang of it. It can suck the fun out of taking pictures when you're constantly fiddling with settings or trying to remember which menu the red eye reduction toggle is buried in. Smartphones have become the go-to camera for billions of people because they're easy and reliable. Grandma can use it, your 5-year-old nephew can use it, and you'll still get decent shots. 18. Wireless earbuds. Wireless earbuds. Don't get me wrong. It's awesome not getting tangled in wires every time you pull the earbuds out of your pocket. All those years spending 5 minutes unknotting the wired earbud spaghetti? Yeah. But the wireless revolution brought its own headaches. The biggest issue? These things just don't last. Many earbuds have a lifespan that would make a fruit fly feel superior. Okay, slight exaggeration, but you're lucky to get a couple of years out of them before the battery can barely hold a charge or one side just dies completely. Then there's the cost. Wireless earbuds, especially the trendy brand name ones, cost a pretty penny. I'm talking $150, $200, even more for some high-end sets. That is a lot to shell out for something you might accidentally drop down a storm drain or send through a washing machine. And since wireless earbuds are nearly impossible to fix, most people just toss them when they stop working. This contributes to electronic waste, and it's an environmental bummer. 17. Smartwatches. We all remember seeing cool sci-fi heroes talking in their high-tech wrist gadgets, from Dick Tracy to Inspector Gadget to Power Rangers. So when smartwatches became real, the hype became real. I mean, a tiny computer on your wrist? You can get messages, track fitness, maybe even take calls like James Bond. Fast forward to today, and a lot of us are looking down at our smartwatch and thinking, why am I charging this thing again already? Like earbuds, smartwatches often suffer from terrible battery life. Many can't even make it 2 full days without needing a recharge, and lots of them barely get through a single busy day if you're using the features. So much for that watch you could wear on your secret week-long mission. This thing can't even survive a full 24 hours of my normal life without begging for the charging cable. To be fair, smartwatches pack a lot into a small package. Bright screens, multiple sensors, and constant Bluetooth connection to your phone. It is a lot of work for a tiny battery. But as a result, you have to remember to charge it, and it becomes one more gadget to worry about. Whereas a traditional wristwatch goes years on a tiny coin battery. Or forever if it's a self-winding mechanical. If you already carry a smartphone, which, come on, nearly all of us do, the watch is often just a redundant mini screen. It's nice for fitness tracking, sure, but there are cheaper fitness bands that do that with way better battery life. That said, I still love mine. This is just becoming old man yells at cloud. 16. Smart doorbells. Ding dong! Big Brother's here to hang out. That's the feeling some folks get with the new generation of smart doorbells. These gadgets, like Ring and its competitors, put a camera and microphone at your front door so you can see who's there via your phone. In theory, super handy. You can catch porch pirates, chat with the delivery guy, or see when your mother-in-law is approaching so you can, tidy up, of course. But as we've learned, smart doorbells often come with privacy trade-offs and software headaches that make them a bit less lovable than old-school ones. First off, when you install a smart doorbell, you're effectively surveilling your doorstep 24/7. The catch is that a lot of these devices upload footage to the cloud, meaning the video of your front yard isn't just staying on the device. There have been reports and controversies about companies sharing doorbell camera footage with law enforcement, sometimes without a warrant or without homeowners being fully aware. Some models have issues with lag, so you end up in the awkward conversation where you're talking to the delivery person with a few seconds delay, talking over each other like it's a bad Zoom call. Not exactly smooth. Contrast all of this with a normal doorbell. It rings, you hear it, done. No privacy issues, no lag, no subscription for premium chimes. 15. E-readers. The promise of e-readers was awesome. A whole library in the palm of your hand. batteries that last for weeks, and no more lugging around heavy books. And in many ways, they delivered on that, especially in the early days. But lately, if you've used a Kindle or other e-reader, you might have noticed some annoying trends that make the experience less magical than it used to be. One major gripe is how restrictive the ecosystem has become. If you buy an ebook from, say, Amazon for your Kindle, you're pretty much locked into reading it on Amazon's devices or apps, thanks to DRM, digital rights management. That means, well, you don't really own the book the same way you own a physical copy. You can't easily lend it to a friend, you can't sell or donate it, and if Amazon were to go out of business or ban your account, well, there goes your library. It's like you got a bookshelf on a leash. You see the books there, but you're not fully in control of them. There have been cases where Amazon remotely deleted books from users' Kindles due to distribution rights issues. Ironically, this famously happened with Orwell's 1984, which is a bit on the nose. The user didn't do anything wrong, yet poof, his book was gone. With a physical book, no one's coming into your house to yank a novel off your shelf. Also, some newer e-readers have started to include ads on the lock screen. Can we ever escape ads? Seriously. 14. Banking apps. Banking apps have become a staple of modern life. Most of us rarely set foot in a physical bank anymore because we can deposit checks, transfer money, and check balances from our phones. It's super convenient. Until it's not. Unfortunately, a lot of banking apps and websites have proven to be less reliable and more infuriating than we'd hoped. Constant outages are a big issue. Maybe it's a scheduled maintenance or an unexpected crash on payday when everyone's trying to log in. Either way, being locked out of your own money when you need it is frustrating to say the least. You might assume banks would invest heavily to make their apps intuitive and easy, but of course not, because many banking apps feel like they were designed in a hurry or by someone who's never actually used a banking app before. Some apps bury important functions like disable a lost card or dispute a charge under layers of navigation that makes you feel like that hacker in Swordfish. 13. Modern laptops. Remember those chonky boy laptops from the early 2000s? Sure, they were thick enough to stop a bullet, but you could swap out the battery, upgrade the RAM, and they had enough ports to rival desktops. These days, laptops have been on a crash diet, getting thinner and lighter with each generation. They look sleek, they're ultra portable, and they slip into a bag like a tablet. Great, right? Well, it's a bit of a trade-off. The pursuit of thinness has made modern laptops run hotter, break sooner, and become nearly impossible to repair or upgrade. One major issue is cooling. When you cram powerful processors into a wafer-thin case, you're defying physics a bit. Less space means smaller fans, or no fans, and less airflow. All that heat has nowhere to go, so the laptop either gets toasty enough to double as a lap warmer, or throttles performance to cool off. So your shiny new thin laptop might boast great specs, but under heavy use, it can slow down and perform worse than a thicker, older model would, simply because it can't stay cool. It's like buying a sports car that can only go full speed for 5 minutes before the engine overheats and forces you to drive at minivan pace. 12. Toothpaste. You wouldn't expect something as simple as toothpaste to get worse over time. I mean, how much can you change a formula whose basic job is clean teeth, prevent cavities? But lo and behold, modern toothpaste is turned into a chemistry experiment of extra ingredients, many of which are arguably unnecessary or even counterproductive. Take a look at the ingredients list on a typical big brand toothpaste tube. It's like a shopping list for mad scientists. Early toothpaste was much simpler. Basically, some kind of mild abrasive, a bit of fluoride, if modern enough, maybe a mint flavor. That's it. Now it feels like a toothpaste is a dessert, a science project, and a marketing gimmick all in one. And let's not forget microplastics and abrasives. Some toothpastes, especially those branded as whitening or tartar control, have little abrasive particles to scrub stains off your enamel. In the past, they used natural stuff like chalk or baking soda. But some modern ones introduced tiny plastic beads to act as scrubbers. Those microplastics, aside from possibly being too harsh on enamel if overused, don't dissolve. They go down the drain, into the water system, and contribute to pollution in oceans and lakes. In fact, many places have banned them due to environmental impact. Even if they're not plastic, abrasive particles can sometimes damage enamel or irritate gums if the toothpaste is too gritty. So, ironically, a toothpaste claiming to give you a sparkling smile could be literally scratching up your teeth over time if it's too abrasive. 11. Washing machines. If you've ever had a chat with someone older about appliances, you've probably heard the classic line, "They don't make them like they used to." When it comes to washing machines, that statement hits hard. Your grandma's washing machine might have chugged along for 30 years with nary a complaint, aside from maybe a bit of rust on the outside. It has basic knobs, a mechanical timer, a sturdy drum. That thing was like a tank. Modern ones, on the other hand, often struggle to make it past 5 to 7 years without a major breakdown. So what changed? A few things. Manufacturers started prioritizing energy and water efficiency, which is a noble goal, do not get me wrong. Today's washers use a fraction of the water and electricity per load. But to achieve that, the designs became more complex. Electronic control boards instead of simple mechanical dials. Sensors everywhere to detect load size, water level, balance, etc. High-speed spin cycles that require finely tuned parts. Those electronic components are often the first to fail, and replacing a circuit board can cost a fortune. And with many brands, parts are proprietary and change every few years with new models, so getting the right part can be a headache. This pushes people towards just buying a new machine rather than fixing the old one, which is exactly what the manufacturers and retailers prefer, of course. Planned obsolescence isn't an official slogan, but it's kind of the vibe. 10. Smart LED light bulbs. How many YouTubers does it take to screw in a light bulb? 1. But they'll film a 10-minute vlog about it, do a sponsored unboxing of a new bulb, and then a tutorial about how to screw it all in before asking you to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. So are you going to do that? Cool, thanks. Next up is the LED bulbs. When LED light bulbs first hit the scene, it was like a miracle for anyone tired of changing bulbs or paying high electric bills. This bulb will last 15 years and uses a fraction of the power of incandescent bulbs, they said. And in many cases, that was true. LEDs in general do last a long time and use less energy. But then, we got smart LED bulbs. The kind you can control with your phone or voice assistant, and suddenly that rosy picture got a bit more complicated and dimmer. Pun intended. Many folks have discovered that these smart bulbs are both pricey up front and prone to premature failure. So what gives? Well, they're low cost. A regular LED bulb these days is pretty affordable, maybe a few bucks, but add in some smart features and you're looking at $15, $20, sometimes even $30 per bulb. And if you wanted to outfit your whole home with smart bulbs, like I did, you might need a small loan. Now, if they truly lasted 10 plus years each, maybe that cost could be justified over time, especially with energy savings. But here's the kicker. A lot of them don't seem to last nearly as long as promised. People report bulbs dying after a year or two, certain colors failing, or the smart part giving up even if the light still technically works. Also, let's say the bulb itself is fine, but the company that made it goes out of business or decides not to update the app that controls it. Suddenly, your smart bulb might lose functionality or become a pain to control. And then there's the simple inconvenience. When a normal bulb burns out after many years, it's like, oh well, time for a new one. When a pricey smart bulb dies in a fraction of that time, you feel a bit cheated. 9. Robot vacuum cleaners. The idea of a little robot zipping around your house cleaning up your messes while you kick back on the sofa is undeniably appealing. Ever since the first Roomba came out, people have dreamed of truly effortless cleaning, like having Rosie from the Jetsons. And to be fair, robot vacuums have improved over time. But are they truly the hassle-free cleaning revolution we hoped for? Not quite. In fact, owning one kind of feels like you've adopted a clumsy pet that needs constant supervision. They get stuck on everything, they need parts cleaned and changed frequently, and they sometimes make more work. You set it to clean, go do something else, and come back later expecting a spotless floor. Instead, oh, sorry buddy, but you find the little fella wedged halfway under the couch, sadly beeping for help because it tried to eat a shoelace and choked. Or it heroically climbed onto a thick rug, only to get tangled and shut down. Or, my personal favorite, cover your ears, it found the lone stray phone charge cable and dragged it around the house like a dog with a leash, knocking things over until it strangled itself and died in a corner. For a device that's supposed to be smart, they can be pretty dumb about obstacles. Sure, the latest models have better sensors and even LiDAR mapping, yet even the fanciest robot vacs can be defeated by the classic challenge: pet poop. There are horror stories on the internet, both tragic and darkly hilarious, of a Roomba encountering a dog accident and proceeding to smear it all over the house. Although, to be fair, cats seem to have tamed them fairly well for their own purposes. Now, robot vacuums can be very useful. They've saved time for a lot of people, me included, but the initial dream of never vacuum again hasn't really panned out. Many users still need to vacuum the old-fashioned way periodically because robots can't do deep cleaning, edges, or stairs. I have a lot of these. I have all of these devices. 8. Refrigerators. Your refrigerator's main job is pretty straightforward. Keep food cold, and maybe make some ice. For decades, fridges did that just fine, and many old ones are still kicking in garages and basements as backup coolers. Enter the era of the smart refrigerator, where your fridge has a touchscreen, an internet connection, cameras, maybe even a fancy way to tweet when you're out of milk. Sounds cool, until you realize one thing. All those extra features are potential points of failure, and fail they do. Modern fridges with too many bells and whistles often break down faster and more frequently than their simpler ancestors. A common scenario: you buy a new fridge with a built-in touch display that shows weather updates, plays music, and has apps. You impress your friends at the next kitchen party and play Skyrim? But a year in, that display might start freezing. It's essentially a tablet glued to a fridge door, and we all know tablets and phones can act up. Only now, if it crashes, it might also affect the fridge's basic controls. There have been reports of people unable to adjust temperatures or use the ice maker because the fancy control panel went on the fritz. A basic fridge from the 80s might still run. A whiz-bang fridge from 2018 that cost 4 times as much? Well, it might have started acting up around 2023. Also, the smart features themselves can become obsolete. Like I mentioned before, maybe the company discontinues the model and stops updating the software. It's like having a smartphone you can never upgrade, stuck on Android Froyo forever. 7. Rechargeable batteries. Rechargeable batteries are everywhere now. In our phones, laptops, electric toothbrushes, earbuds, you name it. The promise is wonderful. Use it, recharge it, and use it again for years. And yes, rechargeable save us from buying tons of disposables and have enabled all these portable gadgets. But if you've noticed that your devices don't seem to hold a charge like they used to after a while, or that they conk out sooner than expected, well, you're witnessing the dirty little secret of rechargeables. They often have a shorter real lifespan than what's advertised, and they degrade faster under common conditions. Long story short, the recharge it hundreds of times claim often comes with a lot of asterisks. Manufacturers might say a battery is good for 500 or 1,000 cycles, or that it keeps going and going and going and going. After a year of heavy use, many devices see their battery capacity drop. Your phone that used to last all day now needs a top-up by afternoon. Your cordless vacuum that ran 30 minutes now gives you 15. It can be pretty disappointing, especially since built-in batteries have become the norm and you can't easily swap them out like in the old days without taking the device apart. It's a bit of planned obsolescence disguised as, oh, but it's waterproof and tiny, and so we had to seal it. In some cases, yeah, sure. But often it's just not giving consumers the option to prolong the life. 6. Smart/electric bicycles. Bicycles used to be pretty simple. A frame, 2 wheels, pedals, some gears, and, well, maybe a bell if you were feeling fancy. You could leave one out in the rain and it'd probably still ride. If something broke, a wrench and a trip to the local bike shop for a part would get you rolling again. Enter the era of smart bikes and e-bikes, and things aren't so straightforward anymore. With e-bikes, the idea is great. A battery-powered motor gives you a boost so hills feel flat and long rides feel shorter. However, adding a motor, battery, and electronics to a bike means adding a lot of potential fail points. Motors can burn out or break down. The battery will inevitably lose capacity over time and eventually need replacement. And e-bike batteries are not cheap, so you might essentially end up with a heavy, regular bike if the battery dies and you can't replace it economically. Now throw smart bikes into the mix. These are bicycles with integrated GPS trackers, automated gear shifting, app connectivity, etc., even if they're not electronic. The more tech you integrate, the more you have to worry about software bugs or firmware updates or connectivity issues. Imagine not being able to change gears properly because the app bugged out. Or consider smart locks on bikes that unlock via phone. Neat. Until your phone dies or the lock's Bluetooth misbehaves and you're stuck unable to ride your own bike. If you treat them gently and have a good support network for maintenance, they're fine. But if you were expecting them to be as carefree as an old Schwinn from the 70s, you might be in for a reality check when you get that repair bill, or your bike is out of commission waiting on a part. 5. E-cigarettes and vaping. Not too long ago, vaping was introduced as a revolutionary way to help smokers quit, or a safer alternative to traditional cigarettes. At first, it seemed like the tech world's answer to a public health problem. Sleek gadgets delivering nicotine without the tar and smoke. But over the years, quality has taken a hit. Disposables are everywhere, and health concerns are on the rise as we learn more. It's a classic case of an innovation that, in practice, revealed a bunch of new problems. Early e-cigs were mostly reusable. You'd have a battery, a tank you fill with e-juice, wish we wouldn't call it that, and maybe a coil you replace. There were certainly cheap, crummy ones, and there were high-end ones that hobbyists loved. But in the last few years, a big chunk of the market shifted to disposable vapes and super simplified pod systems. On the surface, those are convenient. No refilling. You just use it and toss it when it's done. But convenience often meant corners cut. Many disposables are made as cheap as possible. And disposable means exactly that. These things aren't made to last. You might get a few days or weeks off one and then into the trash it goes, battery and all, which is an e-waste nightmare. While vaping likely has fewer toxins than burning tobacco, it's not harmless. Over time, we've seen reports of lung issues, plus potential cardiovascular effects. The truth is, we're still figuring out the long-term health impacts. As the products evolved, especially with a lot of shady manufacturers jumping in to make a quick buck, who knows what's in all these liquids? Quality control can be dubious, particularly from non-major brands. Some vaping liquids have been found to contain things they shouldn't, or the device could be made of low-grade materials that might leach metals or other contaminants when heated. 4. Artificial sweeteners. Sugar-free is plastered on everything, from diet sodas to protein bars. And who wouldn't want the sweetness without the calories? That's the promise of artificial sweeteners, and they've been around for decades. Sweet and Low's been sweetening coffee since your grandma's days, but as more and newer sweeteners hit the market, concerns have been piling up. For starters, some studies suggest that certain artificial sweeteners might mess with our gut microbiome. Saccharin and sucralose found in Splenda have been shown to alter the composition of gut bacteria in ways that could affect metabolism or blood sugar regulation. There's even a hint that they might contribute to glucose intolerance, defeating the whole point of a diabetic-friendly sweetener. Then there's the whole issue of cravings and appetite. For some folks, consuming a lot of fake sweet stuff might confuse the body. You get the sweet taste, the brain expects calories, but then none arrive. Studies suggest this could lead to increased appetite or cravings later on. I mean, have you ever had a diet soda with a meal and then felt like you need a little something extra afterwards? Yeah. Flavor-wise, many artificial sweeteners have a weird aftertaste or are too sweet. Sucralose is hundreds of times sweeter than sugar, as is aspartame. Manufacturers often blend multiple sweeteners to mimic sugar's profile, which just adds to the chemical cocktail. Some of the newer ones most people don't even realize they're consuming because they're hidden in ingredients lists. It's training our taste buds to expect everything to be a little sweet. That can make plain water or natural fruit seem less appealing by comparison, which is kind of twisted if you think about it. They have their uses, especially for diabetics who need to control blood sugar. But the more they infiltrate our foods, the more cautious we need to be about the unseen effects. Sometimes a bit of real sugar, or better yet, enjoying the natural sweetness of fruit, might be wiser than flooding our bodies with these strange, potent compounds in everything we consume. Maybe Mary Poppins was right. 3. Fast food. Fast food, the cornerstone of quick fixes for hunger and guilty pleasures everywhere. There was a time when it felt like a real treat, a juicy burger that actually filled you up, a bag of fries so overflowing you couldn't see the bottom, all for pocket change. But if you've been to a fast food joint lately and thought, this seems underwhelming, you're not wrong. Now, I'm not advocating for the return of supersized gluttony for health's sake, but if I pay for large fries and it looks more like a small did a decade ago, I feel a bit cheated. There's even a term for this phenomenon, shrinkflation. Instead of openly raising prices, companies quietly make the portions or package sizes smaller. So your burger might have gotten slimmer, or the patty is thinner, or they put less lettuce and sauce than before. Except ironically, the prices went up. It's not your imagination that a combo meal that used to cost $5 is now $8 or more at many places. Sure, inflation and cost of ingredients play a part, but some price hikes feel steep for what you're getting, especially when what you're getting is, as I mentioned, less. A lot of people turn to fast food because it was cheap and filling, especially for families or those on a budget. But these days, unless you're sticking strictly to the dollar or value menu, which itself has shrunk, when quality and quantity both go down, but cost goes up, that is a recipe for disappointment. 2. Bottled water. Bottled water seems like the simplest product. It's literally water in a bottle. How could it possibly be getting worse? Well, for starters, a lot of bottled water is just filtered tap water. Basically, the same stuff that practically for free flows out of your kitchen sink, dressed up with a fancy label and a price tag that would make oil barons proud. The bottled water companies have basically pulled off a marketing miracle, convincing us to pay for something we used to get for pennies by making us doubt our tap or crave the ease of grab and go. Worst of all, we use and throw away mountains of plastic bottles every year, hundreds of billions globally. Some get recycled, but a huge chunk don't. They end up in landfills, or worse, in oceans and rivers. Plastic takes hundreds of years to break down, and even then, it just becomes microplastics. We're literally finding microplastics in fish, in salt, in the water we drink, even sometimes in bottled water itself, because the particles shed. So by solving a problem that often didn't exist, like tap water was fine, we created a real problem. Now, I'm not saying all bottled water is evil. In emergencies or places with unsafe water, it is a lifesaver. And sometimes you just need convenience, or you're traveling. But the everyday habit of bottled water for people in developed areas with fine tap water is hard to justify these days. Save money, save the earth. Get a good filter, or just, trust the tap if it's safe, and use a reusable bottle. That's the way to stick it to these modern absurdity. 1. Social media. If you doom scroll, well, then you probably saw this coming. Social media, the double-edged sword that slowly connects us and slowly erodes our sanity. Platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X now, whatever, Elon, TikTok, etc. have become nearly unavoidable in modern life. They started with such promise. Share with friends, see cool content, democratize voices. But over time, social media has evolved in ways that many would argue are making it worse for society and for our well-being. We're talking sneaky algorithms that manipulate what we see, data grabs that would make Orwell raise an eyebrow, and impacts on mental health that range from mildly concerning to downright alarming. Ever notice how once you linger on one type of video or post, your feed becomes an echo chamber of that and nothing else? These platforms aren't showing you things chronologically or randomly. They have complex algorithms deciding what to show to maximize your engagement, to keep you hooked and scrolling. The goal for them? More time on the app, more ads served, more profit. The result for you? you can get trapped seeing a skewed version of reality. If you watch one flat earth video for kicks, suddenly the algo thinks you're into that and you get fed more, possibly nudging you toward believing wild stuff. If you tend to click on outrage-inducing news, you'll see more stuff that riles you up because anger and extreme emotions equates with more engagement. It's like these algorithms learn to push our psychological buttons. They know what makes us tick or click often better than we do. This can lead to polarization and everyone seeing content that confirms their beliefs, radicalization, or just plain old time-wasting rabbit holes. The phrase YouTube rabbit hole didn't come from nowhere. Plenty of people have found themselves watching increasingly fringe content because the platform keeps suggesting it. Social media algorithms, in a way, manipulate our attention and even our feelings, all behind the curtain of personalization. The irony is, social media still has positives, connecting distant families, giving voice to the marginalized, spreading helpful info during disasters, or getting out the news from oppressive regions. But these days, it feels like the negatives are casting a big shadow. A lot of folks are dialing back use or quitting platforms for their sanity. When something that was meant to connect us ends up making many feel more isolated or overwhelmed, that's the sign of a systemic issue. Now, time for a trivia question. True or false? The average web page today is larger in file size than the entire original 1993 video game, Doom. Think you know the answer? Let us know in the comments. And no pausing the video to Google it. I see you. Take your best guess. Come on now. So, did any of these make you nod along in frustration? From battling touchscreens in cars to yelling at crappy printers, it seems the struggle remains real. And sometimes, older really was better. If you enjoyed this little reality check and maybe got a laugh or two, give this video a thumbs up. Tell us in the comments which innovation drives you crazy. Did I miss something that belongs on this list? And as always, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, click that notification bell so you never miss new content. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, not all that glitters is gold. Especially if it's a fancy smart gadget that breaks in a week. Stay safe, stay savvy, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye guys.